ain't adding up. Something ain't adding up. I'm over here eating my pistachios, okay? And these are addictive, by the way. I'll be tearing these things up. But anyways, it just dawned on me. And maybe I'm the only one. Okay?
I'm pretty sure you probably are. This guy's for real too, by the way. I know it seems like it's a character that the guy puts on, but no, he's a right-wing, quote-unquote, comedian.
Okay, but am I the only one who's wondering how in the world did these protesters get these highly produced signs so fast? No, let's run.
Magical powers. It's magical. They got sign magic. It's it's kind of a lame power, but still, it's a power nonetheless.
Down the timeline, okay? Help me do the math, okay? Maybe my math is bad.
I guarantee it is.
But there is no way these people can't be paid. So Donald Trump, President Trump, he captured Maduro at around 2 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday, okay? Because he loved to do stuff in the middle of the night. So
that's how kidnappings typically go, in the middle of it. You don't want to kidnap people just in broad daylight. It's usually not a good idea.
2 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday, Trump captured Maduro. By 7 a.m., a few hours later, thousands of people across America were in the streets with highly produced signs saying no war in Venezuela, no blood for oil. Who? How in the hell?
Jesus Christ.
They either have the equipment in their bedrooms to make these signs, but there is no way in the world that.
All right, enough out of you. This guy doesn't seem to understand. Like, how is this difficult? Really? Like, this is tough for you. That they were like, we already knew about all this stuff. We already knew because it was we didn't just figure out about Venezuela that day, man. Are you serious right now? Holy Lord. He's like, well, it was way too fast for all the signs. No, man. Yeah, Trump was saying already that he wanted to invade Venezuela, and everybody that had a thinking brain knew exactly why. Because of the goddamn oil. Genius. It's just because this is smacking you in the face for the first goddamn time doesn't mean that it is for anybody else. And he's literally going to use this to say that they're paid agitators. They're paid by the non-billionaire. I mean, the billionaires. Fuck. Yeah, dude, your guy's the billionaire. He's the one paying people to do stuff. The billionaire that you voted for. You're wearing his hat. That's the guy that does stuff like that. Jesus, how can this guy not figure this stuff out? How stupid.
A president of the United States of America, the commander-in-chief, okay, can capture a narco dictator at 2 o'clock in the morning, and then by 7 a.m., a bunch of lunatic, unhinged liberals.
Dude, how do you say that and then and be you at the same time? I don't know how you do that.
Have all kind of signage, highly produced, about Venezuela and with Maduro's name printed on it. And
some people knew who Maduro was before he got kidnapped. You know that, right? Like, again, he thinks this all just like everybody figured out about this once they got kidnapped. And everybody's like, whoa, hold on, what's going on? Do we got to do it? No, we all knew, man. We were following this stuff prior.
All good quality print too. How did they get them that fast?
Because again, everybody already knew this stuff was coming, man. You're the only one surprised.
Wow. Can somebody please?
Oh, he's gonna do a bet. He's gonna go into a bet.
What stores?
Do a liberal impression. Do a liberal impression. Guys, I'm non-binary or whatever you're gonna do.
What local shops are able to do that within a few hours? He captured Maduro at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Dude, it's like crazy that it's his whole line of reasoning is based off the flawed premise that everybody just figured out what the hell Venezuela was once Maduro got kidnapped.
How the hell did they get a company to print these signs at 7 a.m.? And they had to print them at 6 a.m. because people had the signs at 7 a.m.
It's so weird to like hear his voice and everything, and then but then see what he looks. It's not, something's not computing for me. Yeah, like I don't know. It's really weird.
Well, they had to print them at maybe 3, 4, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning.
And why has he got like the Arctic? he's got the camouflage that, you know, the idiot ICE soldiers should have had in Minnesota, because that's see, these are the colors, ICE idiots. That's the colors that you need to have in Minnesota, because, you know, snow. Jesus. But why the hell does he have it? He's in his fucking room.
These people had the signs at 7 o'clock in the morning.
Wow, he is really just...
So maybe
his brain is just spilling out on the floor for this one. He just can't figure it out. It's like they got a magic sign maker. They got, you know, they probably are, maybe they're able to do like sparkly, the sparkle circles, and then pull signs from another universe where this stuff already happened. Maybe a future universe. I don't know. It's so confusing.
I mean, I'm not boo-boo-boo-boo. Okay? I may have been...
The hell did he just say?
Signs at 7 o'clock in the morning. So maybe I'm not boo-boo-boo-boo.
Okay, I got nothing. What was that?
Okay.
Yeah.
I may have been born, but I wasn't born yesterday. Okay. I was not
Sounds like you were, if this is this difficult for you, man.
born last night. Okay. So somebody most definitely is getting paid.
Oh my good God. Incredible. So how's everybody doing? We doing all right? Feeling okay? Got a couple of videos to watch. Apparently Kyle Kuleski, secular talk, blonde guy that, you know, always calls everybody a cuck, is on Pierce Morgan. So we gotta watch that. And then we got this Alpha Fundie dude, right? I know that wasn't the Alpha Fundie. No, that was just some MAGA moron that, you know, doesn't understand how basic things work. But yeah, so we got this Alpha guy. It's literally called, the channel is called The Alpha Path. And it's this guy. It's just, why are they never what you would think of when you think of like an alpha? You know what I mean? They're always like some, like he's probably like 5'5".
For the profit of some soulless,
you know, like not, he just does not, like he's like super, he seems like he's just compact, you know, and he hates that everybody is so much bigger than him. That's what he looks like. And so he has to put alpha in the name of his channel, and then that'll Jedi mind trick everybody into thinking he's tough, as long as he gets mad about the stuff that he thinks alphas are supposed to get mad about.
you've been softening your position for years, hoping that if you're just reasonable enough, tolerant enough, careful enough with your words, they'll finally accept you. They won't.
I know. I don't know why black guys like that, you know, go wearing the MAGA hats and everything. They're never going to accept him. So stupid. Yeah. He thinks as long as he says all the self-hating racist stuff that someday they'll, you know, they'll accept him as one of them. They won't ever. I can't even say that full sentence.
You want your worldview eradicated. Jesus told us this was coming. If the world hates you, keep in mind that it hated me first. We keep acting surprised by something that
Hated me first.
he promised. They hate us. They want us gone.
Yeah, that's them that hate that. Wait a second, hold on. I feel like you got stuff backwards, dude.
It's time we stopped caring what they think and start living like what we believe is actually true.
Like, it's so funny. It's so weird when these guys like say stuff like this, where you're just like, are you what? Like, we got to stop being so nice over here on the MAGA right. You know, we got to quit being, we're so friendly, you know, we got to cut that out. Like, are you kidding me? What are you talking about? The Alpha Path. And it's got like banjo. It's got like banjo music.
Christianity makes claims that are non-negotiable, and no amount of cultural pressure is going to change them. Homosexuality is a sin. Abortion is murder.
That's funny. Like, oh, okay, of course. Yeah, trigger warning with this idiot. But yeah, the abortion is murder, something Jesus never even talked about. And if anything, an argument can be made that God's cool with it. You know, it even says like, "Blessed is he who dashes the infant's head on the rock." So he's actually even cool with the infanticide. Did I say that right? Yeah, it's infanticide. I have that spray, actually, just in case any babies come crawling up in here. I'm like, no, not gonna have it.
Genderism is a mental disorder that became a social contagion.
Do you believe you have an undead carpenter ghost living inside your heart that you pretend to cannibalize, dude? You don't get to say anybody else's anything.
Everyone agreed on this until like 5 minutes ago.
No, that's not. Wow, no, that's not true.
Tells you everything you need to know about how reliable cultural consensus really is. We don't need to add caveats to any of these to seem reasonable to people who've already decided we're monsters.
Now you're kind of doing that yourself. Like, we don't really need to. We're trying not to, and you're making it really hard.
You know what else we all agreed on? Patriarchy is good.
I don't know as if we all ever agreed on that. I don't think that's
kept women free to do the most important thing humans do.
It kept women free to be stuck in the house and forced to have babies and take care of everything in that house, including the babies and the dishes and make all the dinner and everything.
Which is raising children. The liberation they're selling means handing your kids to strangers so you can sit in traffic for hours.
Well, maybe you should get to know, the daycare center that you go to. Maybe they wouldn't be strangers if you actually hung out with some people sometimes and didn't just judge everybody and act like you know better than everyone and look down on them, because nobody wants to hang out with people like that.
Just to get the privilege of managing spreadsheets for the profit of some soulless corporation. We didn't invent these standards.
Yeah, you did. That's called capitalism. That's like your whole back. What are you talking about? It's really strange when you like vilify capitalism in the middle of your right-wing patriarchy rant. That's pretty incredible.
God did. Christianity is holistic.
We didn't do it. God did. Okay.
Either take it whole or you don't take it at all.
Okay. And if you take it somewhere, then then go ahead and smash that like button. I'm sorry. Fuck that like. Come on, man. That is just never gonna work. Oh, much better. Yeah. There we go. Fixed it. Pound that like button. Thank you. Makes more sense. Anyway, here we go.
That's exactly why they hate it. You could be the most kind, most gracious Christian who ever lived, and they'll still hate you because the problem was never your tone. The problem is that you won't bend. John's gospel explains it plainly. Everyone who does evil hates the light and will not come into the light for fear that their deeds will be exposed.
He keeps on saying sexual stuff. It's like, they will not bend. Right. I don't know. It just feels like, he's trying to have sex with somebody that's not very limber.
Chapter 3, verse 20. Your Christianity isn't offensive because it's mean. It's offensive because it's true. And truth exposes what people want to keep hidden.
What? How? Where? How? Okay. It's like, it's not because it's mean, even though you're clearly like cranking up the mean to try to make some kind of like, God, Jesus wasn't a pussy, okay? Even though his voice is literally the opposite of that. It's not. It's okay. Look, I'm a tough guy, okay? Look, I can't help it. I'm just an alpha, all right? Put alpha in the title on my channel. That'll make them think that I'm actually.
They don't want you to be nicer. They want you to stop believing. Every compromise they offer is a step toward abandoning the faith entirely. The destination was always eradication. They're just patient about the route.
What? Are you psychotic, man? Yeah, that's it. We want eradication. Jesus Christ. Y'all are the ones like literally using that word when you're talking about trans people. So I don't want to hear it. Okay, man. It's just so weird. The flipped, no, I'm actually the nice guy. They're the mean ones that I hate and try to remove all the rights from everything.
They act like sudden moral revolution is progress. Like we finally woke up and realized what every previous generation got wrong. But there's a pattern here. When societies tear down their foundations overnight, the result is never utopia. It's chaos.
Yeah, it's not. The chaos is not caused by the dictator that's invading all the different countries because he wants to get the attention off of the pedophile ring that he's part of.
Every time. The French Revolution had noble aims, liberty, equality, fraternity, but they wanted it overnight. So they threw out the monarchy, the church, the entire...
Wait, so everything, you're actually cool with progressive morality as long as it takes long enough? That's your problem with this?
Our social order in one violent sweep. The result was 40,000 dead, priests hunted through the streets, churches desecrated, and Robespierre, the architect of the terror, ended up under the same guillotine that he'd used on everyone else. The goal was freedom.
Yeah, so, revolutions aren't always perfect. It's almost as if it's like a revolt or something.
The result was blood. Mao's Cultural Revolution promised equality, sweep away the old, build a perfect...
Well, how is this relevant to anything we're talking about other than, I guess, the fascist, communist dictator that's just not a communist, Trump invading all the countries so that he can distract from the pedophile ring. Anyway.
Society, the Unleash the Red Guards, teenagers given authority to remake civilization overnight, teachers beaten to death in class.
What the hell are you talking about, man? Where's his brain at? How is this? At first he's talking about abortion and stuff like this, and somehow his reasoning got all the way over to revolutions are bad because blood and guillotines and stuff. And it's how does this have anything to do with what the hell we're talking about? It's I don't know.
Classrooms. Children denouncing parents to the state. Between 1 and 2 million killed. Tens of millions persecuted.
We call this trick projection.
The goal was utopia. The result was mass graves. The pattern isn't that change is bad.
The sad thing is it's kind of a trolley dilemma because as far as I understand, things did get better there. Yeah, there was a lot of great. That was because of the revolution part of it. But things eventually did get better. But these powerful nutbags that just want more and more and more and more power than everybody else. There's a bunch of them, and they got a lot of power because that's sort of their whole bag. So we're constantly having to fight off this Barbary shit, and it's kind of annoying. And you're kind of demonstrating that the Empire is trying to take over once again, just sending us right back into why Star Wars is the more realistic of the two, space travel fighting franchise.
It's that sudden change, revolutionary change that tears down everything at once, produces mountains of corpses, even when the stated goal sounds righteous. Christianity.
Yeah, dude. Capitalism's never done any of that.
He brought radical change to the world. It ended human sacrifice, elevated the dignity of women.
It's so weird when they're the human sacrifice that I have to think about every single time I feel guilty about something, that ended human sacrifice. That's a bad thing. No, it's good. It's good when God does it. That's different. Okay. That's different. It's he's a carpenter and everything, and he had to sacrifice himself to himself with the blood sacrifice. His blood covers over you and makes you white as snow somehow, even though that doesn't make any sense. But that torture murder was good.
And abolished slavery across Western civilization, but it did it over generations through conversion and persuasion and patient transformation.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like you want that. It sounds like you're just be mean to him. Just be his whole opening statement was be mean, be an asshole. Stop trying to be nice to the people that hate you and want you eradicated.
Not through terror. There's wisdom in gradual progress. Even good change requires patience.
It's like did he ADHD this shit? Like, I feel like he's completely lost track of what he was starting out with. And he's just onto, no, it's just a slow thing. That's all we need to do. We need to keep it, just take it slow. That's what, like, what?
To execute properly. And the people demanding you abandon 2,000 years of Christian teaching overnight, they're following the playbook of Robespierre and Mao, whether they know it or not.
Who? Who? Who are you talking about, dude? You haven't even said what the hell you're talking about at all. You're just like saying that we're doing stuff. I mean, your guy is trying to be exactly like Mao, just also a capitalist, whilst taking over the world, or attempting to take over the world to push us into a World War III, where we've just, upgraded from Germany for the second time to the US, I guess. And the irony is that Trump is German. So what is it with those guys? Constantly trying to take over the planet. Not cool. Not cool, Germans. Get it together.
Living faithfully in a world that...
It's cool, I'm German. I mean, I'm not. I do have some in me, but I have all the whites in me. That's it.
Hates your faith.
And if you want the white in... That doesn't work.
Requires a different posture than most Christians have been trained for. It looks like this. Stop explaining yourself to people who aren't asking in good faith. When someone asks you about...
How are you doing this, man? How are you doing this? This is incredible. Holy Lord. It's like everything on the right is like, they're 1 second, they're like, you shouldn't be mean to people that were unalived unfairly, okay? Charlie Kirk, you need to, everybody, you gotta have some respect, okay, for the dead, all right? You're gonna hurt the dead's feeling, or the people that care about the dead's feelings. The dead don't care, they're dead. But, but then all that went out the window the second that a ICE fascist, Gestapo, SS, brown shirt, whatever you want to call, shot a lady because he was trying to jump in front of a car for some reason. For the second goddamn time. What an idiot.
Biblical sexuality. They're not curious. They're positioning for attack. You could give the most thoughtful, nuanced, gracious explanation in history, and they'd...
Native said, I got all red in me. Native AP. I get that one. That was because I'm white. That's why we got,
Still call you a bigot because the verdict was in before the conversation started. You don't owe an explanation for God's truth to someone who's already decided you're evil. Save your energy for people who are genuinely seeking. Let influential people
Wait, keep waiting for that.
Respect you. When some public figure announces they can't respect Christians who believe X, good. Let them. Their respect was...
Who is he talking about? Can you provide some specifics, man? Like, I hate it when they do this. It's like this vagary that is so clearly tied to something specific. But they won't... They're like, nah, I don't want to... I'm not trying to throw that person under the... I actually like that song. I play it on my radio and everything. So I don't want to attack him like that. Like, just say who it is. What are you talking about?
Never available to you in the first place. You're seeking approval for someone who wants your worldview eradicated, and that's a trap. Scripture calls it exactly that.
That's a trap? So now what? So now talking to somebody's a trap?
The fear of man lays a snare, but whoever trusts in the Lord is safe. Proverbs 29:25. Every time you saw...
Okay, yeah, that makes... Hold on, let me go back to it.
Scripture calls it exactly that. The fear of man lays a snare.
The fear of man lays a snare, but whoever trusts in the Lord is safe. Yeah, I don't get it. I'm not... a snare, if anybody's not familiar, I learned this. Kevin, remember we were watching that Alone show? They got to be alone. And no, not the naked one. I don't like the naked one. That one's, too much blurry stuff. No, not the naked, but the one is they're alone and they're just out left in like the wilderness. There's an Australia one that just came out, and I got to see that because they have monsters in Australia, and they're going to be alone, not naked, out in Australia, and they're going to have to deal with the monsters that are all over the place. Anyway, but one of the ways that they hunt for that, like in that show, is with snares, and they're like these little lassos. Yeah, they are. They look like lassos. They're like the little lassos that they like hook onto stuff that are in bushes and stuff, so that when a squirrel, and they know like where squirrels go and stuff, they go through the lasso and then it tightens up. That's a snare. Not the drum. Not the drum. That's different. It's also a snare, I mean, but a different kind.
But whoever trusts in the Lord is safe. Proverbs 29:25. Every time you soften your position to avoid their disapproval, you're walking deeper into the snare. And say what you believe.
Deviant. I think what you're trying to say is disestablishmentarianism, right? That's what it is. No, what? Oh, just really authoritarianism? That's it? That's all you were trying to do?
Believe without caveats.
Come on,
homosexuality is sin.
You use some spell check, buddy. Okay, what are you doing?
Abortion is murder. Men and women are different and complementary by design.
Nobody said men and women are different.
Transgenderism is a disorder, not an identity.
Has this? I don't. Did it restart? No, didn't restart. I don't understand what is happening.
You don't need to soften these to be loving. In fact, the most loving thing you can do is tell the truth, because God is both love and truth. You're not running for office. You're not trying to be palatable. State what's true and let them sort it out with God.
That's what we've been trying to do with you guys, and you keep getting mad, accusing us of wanting you guys eradicated, when all we're trying to do is get you to stop trying to eradicate us. And then you play the victim after having all the power and abusing that power with like I said, the Gestapo, the brown shirt SS guys that let go are beating everybody up and everything.
The posture you're after is settled, unmoved. You state what you believe, you live accordingly, and you let them rage. Their anger is their problem, not yours.
Yeah, that's it. We're the angry ones. That's it. It's almost our problem, honestly. The fact that we are just so sarcastic. We're like, well, it's all coming apart. Oh man, this world's just burdened. Funny stuff. Like that's kind of our problem, because we're like too sarcastic about it. And now it's like, now we're just watching things just break to pieces. Everybody's just like, okay, this is unbelievable, whatever, and we don't say anything about it. We don't do anything about it because we're just going to be sarcastic about it. And then it's like, what the fuck? Okay, it's time to break stuff. Time to get mad. Time to light some stuff on fire.
You're not trying to earn their approval. You already have the approval that matters. You're a
magic one. You feel so sad for these people when they do that. You have the best approval of all from the magical undead Carpenter's thing, that which is better than having friends too, by the way, because you don't have friends. You're part of other followers, the followers of Christ, that you have to read a script basically in order to be considered as a friend.
Son of the king, not because you earned it, because he made you one. Now act like it. Your ancestors were fed to lions for this faith. Hebrews 11:30.
No, it wasn't for that. I mean, kind of, not really. It was because those idiots, hate to blame the victim here, but they weren't worshiping the right gods, okay? And the Romans were like, anytime anything bad happened, like droughts and stuff, which happened a lot and everything back then, and anytime that there was a shortage of resources, they're like, okay, who's not worshiping the right gods? It's those goddamn Christians. I knew it. Guys, you're the reason we have a drought. You're the reason we had a storm last week. You're the reason. Just everything bad, you name it. That's, because they were all idiots and superstitious back then,
7 describes them. They were stoned. They were sawn in two. They were put to death.
That was Isaiah by Manasseh. That's the one that I was talking about, who is the youngest king of Israel that went totally pagan, knocked down all the Yahweh stuff, brought in some pagan statues and stuff. It's great.
By the sword, the world was not worthy of them. And it's not worthy of you bending the knee to it.
The world is not worthy of of them. You know, you can edit the Chat GPT scripts, dude. Like, you know, you can go back and be like, that's nonsense. You could, you know, just put some of your own spin in there.
Its approval either. You can handle a mean tweet. You can handle being called a bitch.
Who can't handle a mean tweet? What is happening, dude? Who are you talking about? Are you talking to you? Is this like a talking in the mirror kind of situation? Like, grow up, buddy. Buck up. Time for some bootstraps, bro. Okay, we're not freaking out about a tweet. No, we're not. I hated that tweet though. No, I'm not. I'm fine. We're fine. Me and the mirror man. That's doing everything I'm doing.
Dig it? Put some starch in your spine. Say
What? Put some what? Starch in your spine? Well, that just sounds very sexual. And if you want to put some starch in your spine, okay, then just go to, or just go, fuck that button. Okay, or pound that button, the like button. Okay, sorry, we already did that. I gotta move on. Can't be doing the same.
what you believe. Live like it's true.
Live like it's true. It's almost like he's saying it's not true, you know, but we got to just pretend harder. Things will start to make sense if we just pretend harder. Just act, you know, just presuppose that all of our beliefs are true and act like everybody that doesn't believe in the undead carpenter ghosts that we pretend to cannibalize. They're the crazy ones. Okay. Jesus Christ. What a fucking mess. But okay, what was the other one? There's something else. All right, so what have we done? I'm gonna end on the you're a cuck, which I'm sure is probably from Kyle Kolinsky or whatever. But damn, there was something else I was gonna watch. No, I can't think of it. Oh, yeah, that's right. This guy. It's only like 2 minutes long. But oh, and we can watch Carrie Lake talk to them Texas idiot. But let's do this one first.
So Mamdani won.
Look how he like holds his phone and stuff. He's on like a lot of drugs or something. Like he actually used to not be terrible at YouTube, and it's like something happened at some point. I don't know what it was. I think it's drugs. I think he put his brain through a blender and he hasn't gotten it back yet. It takes some time. I know. I've been there. It's, you know, it takes a minute for it to just respawn all of those brain cells. It sucks.
Interesting, isn't it? But not half as interesting as the reason why he did. The reason why I'm bringing up this grinning piece of shit here is because his victory wasn't at the hands
Grinning piece of shit. Oh my God.
of some election fraud like Biden. Liberal Gen Z white women went.
It feels like a bit, man. Doesn't it feel like he's just like he's putting on a character that doesn't actually believe any of this stuff, but he's just pretending like he is, so, you know, for the bit.
And did this. And then they started celebrating like this.
Sharia law starts now.
Oh man.
Absolutely. Zohran Mamdani, Islamic Caliphate.
And then they started protesting Trump like this. That's a fictional thing. In fact, that's pretty close, sartorially speaking, to wearing a burqa, which will happen whenever Sharia law comes in.
I don't even really understand what his point is. He's like, that's not even real. Dude, that's a fake show. That's not even an actual style that is real. But the burqas are. And it's like, yeah, I know. That's sort of what they're playing off of. Because, you know, it's a theocracy, an authoritarian theocracy. That's sort of the point of the show. And yeah.
That'll happen.
Of course, he's like, and if Muslims are allowed to be places, they're going to take over. They have way too many babies. That's the problem right there. Too many babies.
You'll get your wish, ladies.
Somebody needs to get that spray, you know, the infanticide spray.
You won't have to willingly go on Amazon and prime a costume out to your house to pretend to be oppressed by bad orange man.
Dude, they can't even have sex, man. Like they ruined sex for women because now they're like, I don't know if my tank's going to be ripped apart. So I don't know if I'm going to do this.
You'll get it for free. It'll be provided to you by your Islamic husband and forced upon you. But the problem is you won't be able to go on social media to complain about it and post pictures of yourself being oppressed because no phones, I guess, for ladies probably. The girl boss
Probably, I don't know. I don't check on anything, you know. I'm just making stuff up.
themselves into the positions of men who couldn't handle.
Shakira law just says everybody's got to wiggle their hips a lot, you know. Everybody, you got to dance when you go from here to there and back again. You better be wiggling some hips, okay?
The grind.
Well, hips and nips, otherwise I don't get paid.
Now they want to settle down with a nice Mahmoud and governmentally subsidize their entire lives because they don't actually even want to go to work anymore.
If they didn't actually want to go to work anymore, wouldn't they just be okay with the patriarch, the patriarchy taking over or whatever? Because then they can just stay at home. See, your logic is eating itself. I feel like you're mixing up your right-wing arguments and forgot what you were doing.
No jobs for you ladies, by the way, in Sharia law, no jobs. Stay home.
You just said they didn't want jobs. What are you doing, man?
Birth many children.
Why? Write something down. This is crazy. Remember back in the day when you would write down things that you wanted to make into a YouTube video?
No more abortions. That's off the table.
That's already done. That's already gone. What are you talking about? that's been over for a while now because of you idiots. Anyway, yeah, that was fun. What else we got here? Well, let me see how everybody's doing first. Hey, how's everybody doing? Everybody feeling okay? Doing all right? Taking a break from the news for a day. You know, just gonna keep my blood pressure not murdering me for a second. Who won? Let's see. Drizilla won. What's up, Drizilla? Hey, yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's okay. You switched it up. I'm so used to. I almost said the thing you usually say, and then I'm like, wait a second, that's not the same thing she said, but can't be changing it up on me. Confusing. What the hell? Oh, you could share that? I don't know why I would want to, but anyway. All right, Brian was second. What's up, Brian? How we doing? What is that? Is that what the hell is that? I don't even know what it is. Is it a puff of smoke? You're smoking cigarettes or something. I don't know what it is. It said we might have civil war first. Yeah. That well, I feel like, you know, we don't have to limit ourselves, right? Why not both? Right? We can have a civil one while the world has a world one. We can do whatever we want. All right. You just got to know what that is. And Weirdo is there. What's up? How we doing, Weirdo? Doing all right? It's good to see you. We got Linus a little ADHD or political. Sorry. Yeah, you all changing your names and saying different words all the time. Now you're changing your. Come on. All right. I have ADHD. That's why you're making this difficult. And then we got. Oh, hello, Amelia. How's it going? Hello. Hey. Hello. It takes a minute for me to, you know, it's weird that you're expecting an immediate response. Okay. I was kind of into something. I was doing something before, but hello. Hello. Hey, and hello. But we got Ember. How we doing, Ember? What's up? Oh, I see. He's invisible to ice, except the bright red hat. Yeah, I know. God, dude, it's so sad when because you're talking. Ember's talking about the video that we first watched, which is the black comedian dude with the giant MAGA hat on. It's like it's weird when their hats get as big as their belt buckles in Texas, but they're MAGA hats too. But anyway, yeah, that dude. He's gonna get like side tackled like 80 times on his own tour, you know, on his own comedy tour. I'm like, no, he's the guy performing. He's a MAGA guy. He's MAGA. Yes, but he looks. Hold it, really? But you got to put something identifying. You got to stop taking that hat off. Like it's right there. It's right next to him. Anyway, Jesus. Jasper, what's going on, dude? How we doing? Jasper's back. Oh yeah. Let's see. Oh, one big. We got one big joint. I thought I said one big joint at first, but it's one big John Level. What's up, dude? How you doing? Yeah, let's see who else we got. Deviant. What's up, Deviant? So what he's saying isn't wrong. It's not inaccurate. It's just that he doesn't realize that it's hypocrisy, because politics isn't a line, it's a circle. Get to the top and you have authoritarianism. I see what you're saying. Yeah. Oh, is that when you spelled it right? No. Oh no, you said authoritarianism, which is not right. That's very different. That's when you write a story about going to the beach and getting, get some bronzer. We got native atheist. What's up, dude? How you doing? And I think that's Hellbound Hillbilly's here too now. What's up, dude? How you doing? Rattle. I was gonna say rattle, smell. Rattle, I smell cattle. Nice. God, you are a hillbilly, aren't you? I love it. That's funny. Let's see. Then we got W Stubbs. What's up, W Stubbs? How you doing? Starch. I know. What the fuck? What was that? I've never heard that phrase in my life. What even was it? What is it saying? You get some starch in your spine. You got to get some starch back in your spine. What? But that's not a thing. I don't think there's any of that in there. I mean, I would hope there isn't. And starch is like what you like make your clothes soft with, right? Isn't that what I don't know. Anyway, doesn't matter. I don't know. Then we got Drusilla. Hey, Drusilla. Oh, you already said hey, Drusilla. Stop taking everybody's time, Drusilla. That could have been time that somebody else had an opportunity. No, there's nobody else. All right. Let's see, who is it? So there's nothing about using AI, and you obviously used it for your background. Yeah, well, you get sued, okay? For if you can get in trouble for taking the wall, and they closed all the punk joints in my town because they ruined St. Petersburg, Florida, and so now all we got is the Emerald, and that doesn't really have any flyer walls. So if I can't take an actual picture of it, I'm just gonna. I'm just going to make one on AI. But anyway, all right, y'all. Here we go. So, like I said, Kyle, Kalinsk, secular talk, blonde guy, surfer dude, Zach Morris.
No.
Secular talk, Zach Morris. I don't know. Went on to Piers Morgan, uncensored. And apparently so did Michael Knowles. And apparently there's a lot more anti-Trump people here, I think, than pro. But which is kind of odd, except that does seem to be exactly where the country's at. But I don't know.
Okay.
I mean,
To many people who thought that the peace part of peace through strength really was in the US national interest all along. Well, joining me to debate all this is Dave Smith, host of Part of the Problem, Coleman Hughes, hosted Conversations with Coleman at the Free Press, Kyle Kalinske, aka Secular Talk, and Michael
With the glasses, dude. What is happening?
Knowles, host of the Daily Wire's
Should have had a bucket hat too, and maybe a cigarette with like one of the little holders things.
Knowles Show. A truly stellar panel, even given the caliber of the stellar panels we have, which I think you were discussing with Theo Von, in fact, Dave Smith, in a complimentary way. So thank you, and Happy New Year to all of you. Dave Smith, let me start with you. Welcome back to Uncensored.
thank you.
There's a lot going on. I decided to have a week off after Christmas. Big mistake. Never have a week off in the Trump administration. It seemed like all hell was breaking loose, and yet, and
it sucks that I like him so much, Kyle, because God, he does look douchey. Like he just looks like somebody I would hate if I was hanging out somewhere for a night or whatever. But he's actually all right. He's actually pretty cool. The rest of them, I don't really know. I don't know. Well, I know this idiot, but that's it. That's the only other one I know, besides Pierce, of course. But it's his show.
Park the rhetoric, which can be very incendiary on all sides, and you cut to the presumed ideology of what Trump is trying to do here. I do see the argument. I may not agree with all of it, but I see the logic of what he's trying to do and why he thinks it's in America's interest. And that applies to whether it's Venezuela and getting rid of Maduro, or whether it's the Iran situation and so on. Do you see the logic, even if you don't agree with it all?
No. What?
Okay.
I mean, no. I mean, Pierce, it's as you said, Donald Trump can say America first means whatever I say it means, but
which is how he does it. America first means that Israel is actually first, and they can do whatever they want because they're magically better than everybody else. Did you know there's a book written about them that says that they're magically perfect? They're like the chosen people or something.
America first meant one thing to everybody who's ever uttered the phrase, and then he wants to change that to mean America first means regime changes all around the world, huge, enormous, unthinkable bloated defense budgets like he just requested from Congress. And if he's going to think that none of his supporters are going to have a problem with that, or that they're all just going to change their views because he decided to change his, I think he's going to find out how well that works for him in the midterms this year. And I think it's going to be a disaster. And obviously it's true, Pierce, as you said, and we all know Donald Trump will say all types of crazy things and then never follow through with that. But he also just asked Congress for a $1.5 trillion defense budget. And that to me does indicate that he is anticipating a real deal war coming up, or at least the possibility of it. And if he means the things that he says, I mean, I don't exactly know how you do that. I don't know how you say we run Venezuela and we'll dictate who the next regime is and we'll dictate where the oil goes without at least an effort of like 100,000.
It's insane that like they're going to be out here running Venezuela. We can't even run our country. Like he can't even like, keep the prices down on anything. Like he's just throwing out everything that helps anybody and making everything worse for everybody. And everybody keeps voting for him. It's so freaking weird.
1,000 troops. I'm not even sure that would be enough to do it. So it's unclear what exactly the next move is going to be. And that's really when we'll find out what he's going to do. But no, Pierce, the idea that we're 38 or maybe 39 by the end of the show, $1 trillion in debt right now. We have major problems in this country. And we have a hot war raging on in Europe, which is a proxy war between the entire West and the biggest nuclear armed power in the history of the world. The idea that we would go flirting with multiple wars of choice at this point, it's not left-wing or right-wing. It's just reckless. There's no wisdom in it.
Michael Knowles, I guess the argument against what Trump is doing is that many people who voted for Trump bought into the concept that what America first was take care of what's happening in your own backyard and stop meddling in foreign affairs.
Look at his face. He's like, oh, God, how am I going to do this? Okay. But the other affairs will get us oil, which will make like 4 or 5 people really rich. So we don't care.
And now they're waking up almost on a daily basis to seeing Donald Trump proudly and aggressively talking
weird
about meddling.
Weirdos doing weird. Okay.
In all sorts of foreign affairs. Is there a contradiction or hypocrisy or even a betrayal of voters going on here?
Yes. Just all of it.
Not at all. First of all, Venezuela is in our own backyard, and it's been the policy of the United States in 1803 to manage the Western Hemisphere. So that that's a cornerstone of American foreign policy.
And he said in 1803, they were saying that they need to control that hemisphere.
I think it is charming that Dave is defining America first in the way that he prefers. And I think there are plenty of people who wish to do that. But Dave, though a very popular podcaster, never won a presidential election. And Trump has been clear on what he means by America first.
Boy, you got him. That was good. Yeah, below the belt, dude. Dude, ease up there, big guy.
First, the political movement that he built, that people voted for in his coalition since the beginning. President Trump campaigned the first time around on destroying ISIS. So obviously that does not mean that America is only going to look inward.
How do you square the circle of that, like saying that, Kamala was going to be like put us into endless wars and everything. Like he said it over and over again, and yet it's like, but he's like, no, he ran on it. What? He ran literally pointing out that the other people were going to do it.
President Trump has carried out attacks, military operations that were extremely successful in Iran, in Syria, and Afghanistan, obviously in Venezuela. He's been talking about taking Greenland and even invading America's evil top hat, Canada, though I think he's mostly joking about that one, since the beginning. So that's what that means. And what it comes down to is that America is a global empire. We just are. People can be upset about that, but unless your geopolitics comes strictly from Reddit, you know, if your geopolitics actually comes from history, you recognize that we've been an empire since the Louisiana Purchase, okay? And we've been a muscular global empire since the Second World War. So President Trump's vision, I think, actually rejects two extremes. It rejects a conservative isolationism, and it rejects a liberal internationalism, and it posits a conservative imperialism that says that we are going to recognize our role in the world, but we are going to pursue that role in limited ways with America's interest at heart. So there's been no regime change in Venezuela. We're talking about regime change in Venezuela. The regime is still in place. What we did was depose the leader. We left the vice president in place, and we said, act in a way that is appropriate in accordance with the law and our interests, or we're going to kill you. That's very different than a Bushy era neocon regime change in Iran.
You know, that wow. Okay, so I guess it's all okay then. You're right. I didn't even think, since it's different than Bush, I guess it's cool.
Rock. Even when we're talking about Iran, the Trump administration has not gone in a particularly overt way yet. But even there, we would be talking about a restoration of the Pahlavi regime, most likely, that goes back to 1925. So I grant there are all sorts of risks to intervention.
It's so weird that they can do that. It doesn't matter, honestly. They do the Bible thing, right? Where the Bible is just always, oh hey, what are you doing here? Oh, really? Oh, okay. Okay, really? All right, man. What did I say? Oh, they're doing the Bible thing, right? Where it's like, and there was a really great live stream. Was it a live stream? Anyway, it's on Kip Davis's channel with Maya Atkinson was there, and they were talking about how like they were like responding to these videos where they're basically saying we have to say that slavery is okay. It's in the Bible, and you know they're kind of just like that's the perfect word of God, and you think I can stand in judgment of that? It's like we're talking about owning people, you weirdo. But like they have to. Doesn't matter whatever it is, they have to contort their brain into like pretzels to like make it work, and they do the exact same thing no matter what Trump does. You know, he could like start promoting PDF file the rings, you know, since he's into that, you know, it's got his whole back. And they'd have to be like, look, hey, what is age anyway? You know, I mean, really, I mean, why are we freaking out about that? Everybody calm down, you know. So they're a little young. I mean, come on. I mean, Megyn Kelly literally already did that. She's like, you're talking 13. It's not like it's like weird or anything. Like, holy Lord.
But we're the global empire, you know, and frankly, even the American Revolution comes out of wars of global empire. It comes out of the 7 Years' War, which itself was a derivation of the War of Austrian Succession. To pretend that we don't have a role in geopolitics is to ignore all of American history.
Okay,
hey, there's Maya right there. Hey, what's up? I didn't even see you there before I did that. But it was perfect. That was a really great show too. And Josh Bowen was there too. So, but yeah, it was really cool. Definitely go check it out on Kip Davis's channel. It's awesome. I think it was called like slavery. Slavery is still wrong. Like, and it always has been. What the? Oh my God!
Let's go. I can see you grimacing through a lot of what Michael was saying there. You said Trump says the U.S. will run Venezuela, and he threatens Colombia and Mexico. Arrest this psychotic motherfucker. Before I get you to expand on that thesis,
don't say motherfucker, Pierce. Man, you said weird, like really weird. Like it doesn't sound like that's a word you say ever.
I mean, the point I was making to Dave.
I'd like to see him do like a Samuel L. Jackson impression. Pierce Morgan doing a.
If I want to elaborate on where I sit with this, I've had a bit of time to look at this play out, is you look at Maduro. Everyone thought, my God, this is going to be World War III. Actually, Maduro is going to end up in a New York courtroom, and he's been got rid of. Everyone seems to agree that's a good
He's being got rid of. Is that how he's
thing for not just the Venezuelan people, but the world. No American
What's up, John? How we doing, man?
troops died in what was an incredibly efficient surgical military strike to get him out of there. And
Just had to take his wife too, But that was like, she's like, no, I'm coming. Damn it. No, I'm not. No, he is not going to leave me here with all the. No, I'm going. I want to go to America. Can I get it? Just move the helicopter. You can stand. Okay. You're a military guy. You can stand. I have to sit. I'm wearing a dress. Okay. This is ridiculous.
if you have a more compliant leader of Venezuela, albeit part of the same regime, that can probably only be a good thing. If you look at the argument about Greenland, for example, I'd be struck by some of the people that I didn't expect to think this was a good idea. There was a British general last week talking about this, saying that from a strategic security point of view, it would make perfect sense for America to have Greenland. And is there a deal to be done? He didn't think invading it was the right thing, and nor do I. But is there a deal to be done with 60,000 people who live in Greenland that could actually improve the security of the United States?
This is psychotic. Why do we keep acting like this stuff is not psychotic? What the fuck? Like, well, no, it's not. Let's think about this for a second. What if we did own Greenland? Strategically, then we would have more space in other places. Got Israel right in the middle of the Middle East, which is great strategically, right? We got, and then Greenland would be able to, pretty soon the sun will never set on the Trump empire, and that's
the West
goal.
Against the obvious threat from China and Russia and so on. And I can get through the others. Iran.
It's like, no wonder the British guy. Of course, the British guy over here is like, no, let's hear this out. Maybe you could just expand your empire all over planet Earth. And maybe even take over the whole thing if you do it right.
Getting rid of the Ayatollah and the mullahs is unquestionably a good thing for the world. It's how you do these things and whether you plan and prepare properly for what follows next that I think are the debatable points. And history says that's normally, unfortunately, been very badly done. But this is what I meant when I said to Dave that I understand the argument. I may not agree with all of it, but I do understand the logic to what Trump is doing here. Do you?
No, because we don't have a right to act like this around the world. We're supposed to be a nation among nations, not a nation above nations. And they used to at least lie to us in the past and say that this is good for the world and we're spreading freedom and democracy. Now they don't even bother to lie. Now it's naked, rank, disgusting imperialism where they say, we're going to take the oil. And the point is that we're going to take the oil. We're going to take the minerals. We're going to take the precious metals. We're doing this for our corporations. We're doing it for the Epstein class, the billionaires. And this, to piggyback on what Dave Smith said, is frankly not what many of the MAGA voters thought they were signing up for. They thought America first actually meant America first. By the way, you also replaced the Maduro regime with the Maduro regime. Congratulations on that. It's also been now a week straight of pro-regime protests. Now you have roving gangs of Venezuelan militias that are kidnapping Americans. But again, I come back to the fundamental point, which is if you
I don't know why it freaks me out when you just look at all the other people. Do they tell him that you're not allowed to move? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt him. But he's going to go for a minute, and I think I'm supposed to interrupt more, just for copyright reasons. But did they tell you you're not allowed to move? Like stop at the eyes. The eyes are doing. Sorry, I'm sorry. They just, oh my God.
You sign on to stuff like this, you're saying might makes right and the law of the jungle is back. What you're saying is China has a right to go into whatever smaller country they want and depose the leader and say we're doing it because we can and we have the right to do it and we have bigger guns and there's nothing you can do to stop it. So they're never going to address that fundamental question, which is why do we have a right? Do we actually believe in international law or was that all a joke? Are we rolling the clock back to the 1700s and the 1800s and we're going super primitive style here? And I think the answer to that is yes, they want to go super primitive style.
Today's show is sponsored by Oxford Boost Your Energy. England ledger Michael Oxford Natural Tears.
Excuse me?
We're going to talk about the
Geneva Convention and the Nuremberg Tribunal.
Yes, those exist, but international laws, the jus gentium goes back to antiquity. However, unfortunately, a lot of our liberal friends think history began a few decades ago.
The League of Nations was useless. It fell apart, and that's why we had the UN. That's why we had the Geneva Convention.
Right, I'm talking about millennia ago,
because we looked at piles of millions of dead bodies, and we said that's a bad idea. We looked at piles of millions of dead bodies and said, that's a bad idea. Let's not do that anymore. Let's actually have a framework and rules and laws. And Trump is blowing that up. By the way, he bombed fishing boats from Venezuela, Trinidad and Tobago, and Colombia. He just did the regime change in Venezuela. He bombed Yemen and Somalia and Nigeria and Iran. He's threatening Greenland and Panama and Canada and Cuba and Mexico. And you sit there the whole time and act like it's okay. Is there anything Trump can do, Michael Knowles, that you would say, I condemn it, and you hop off the Trump train, or are you going to tickle his taint for the rest of your fucking life?
No, there have been plenty of Trump policies that I've criticized because he's only right about 99.78% of the time. So the First Step Act, I thought,
such
was
a cuck.
I knew it. I told you it was going to be him. It was gonna. Yeah, I'm like, even with the right winger there, he's like, he's the one called him a cuck. I guarantee it.
But I would say the rest. Excuse me. I would say the rest of the administration has been very.
No, we heard you, man. There's, okay, pipe down.
Successful. What's your problem?
Arguments.
What's
my
your
problem? Is that
criticism?
you're a cuck and you're a hack and you're not an independent thinker and you're meat riding Trump.
Why do you
and
say
you
that?
know that what he's doing in
I just answered your
imperialism and you don't care.
I just answered your question. I corrected
Congratulations. You rented your brain to a war criminal, pedophile, rapist. I hope you're happy.
A war criminal, pedophile, rapist? Do you brought
Did
up
I
a
stutter?
point? You brought up international.
Yeah, and all that stuff is basically like that, and that's not even controversial, right? Like everything he said that labeled Trump what Trump is, not even controversial. I feel like most, even MAGA people, are like, yeah, so that's whatever. He can do what he wants. He's a billionaire.
International law. And you made a very false point, a dumb point, which is that international law began only a few hundred years ago. I corrected you, and I pointed out that the international law is part of the Western tradition. Excuse me, 1 second. It goes back to antiquity.
Hold on, please. Just one. I'm a polite MAGA. Okay, they make us too. I know.
It's a principle of the jus gentium. And then you said, well, international law has failed because of the League of Nations failure, which I think is actually undermining your argument and proving my point and proving Trump's point, because the liberal international.
Yeah, the tickle the taint thing was good. That was fine. Just, the cuck.
That was established by people like Woodrow Wilson.
Nothing wrong with being a cuck. Okay. Sometimes it's very sexually pleasing, right? So when you get like a ball, you get one of those balls strapped to your face and it goes in your mouth, like that part of Pulp Fiction, where you could even cosplay that part of that, but it's awesome, and then you get the sword and stuff. Anyway,
did in fact fail, which is why we need to restore an older and more classical conception of the international order, which is precisely what Trump's doing. So I think you've hoisted yourself with your own petard.
Might
and
make
then
right.
you just make a lot of vulgar sort of non sequiturs.
What the hell is he talking about?
Because you don't have a leg to stand on.
All right, let me bring in.
Let me ask you this question. Hold on, Piers. Let me ask him a question real quick. Tell me the name of the Minister of Defense in Venezuela.
I don't know. Whatever his name
well,
is.
and that's the
Garcia
problem. Is that you're
Rodriguez
advocating for a regime change. You don't know the first thing.
I didn't. I just said the opposite.
You're
I argued
for
against
the regime
change.
He
Kyle,
actually
you
said the opposite.
I
heard Michael.
Kyle, I just want to correct
I heard Michael Knowles say
the
regime remains there, right? So he said the opposite. In fact, I want to bring in Coleman.
No, but he wanted to take out Maduro. Don't give me that cutesy little.
Yes,
BS.
but he
That's
made
not
the
a
point
regime.
that the regime is still. He made the point the regime is still there.
Don't give me that cutesy little BS, Pierce. You shut your British face.
And the vice president appears to be much more compliant with running Venezuela the way America would prefer.
Which is what, selling all their oil to the highest bidder, even though, all the oil companies are like, I don't want to invest in this. This is dumb. This is not a good investment for us. Are you crazy? This is just gangster shit. They're like, yeah, we stole all this stuff. All right, who's buying? Who's going first?
For its national security than Maduro. So that's what Michael said. He didn't advocate regime change. Let me bring in Coleman Hughes. Coleman,
kidnapping the president is
hang on, Carl. Let me bring in
regime change.
Coleman hasn't said a word yet. Coleman, what's interesting about you, I think, with this is you've been, I think, striving to be quite nuanced with your take on all this stuff that's going on. And that's kind of where I found myself, is that sometimes taking a beat, looking at it from just a step away, and trying not to be too knee-jerk about all these things.
I think he is in the U.S., yeah.
Often, can be beneficial to your mental health, but actually can probably better, I think, represent what is really going on here. Everyone wants to go to extremes very, very quickly about everything and take a very tribal position. I've been struck by your, I think, quite intellectually honest attempt to be more nuanced. So what do you think about all this?
Thank you, Piers. I try to not think about these issues in terms of left versus right or Trump versus the opposition, and try to take each issue on its own terms. So let's do that. Venezuela. If the policy here is actual regime change, in other words, not just decapitating Maduro and replacing Maduro with a second worst alternative, if we were to actually affect regime change in Venezuela, that would almost certainly be a good thing for the people of Venezuela and for American interests. Now, if we're going to do this half measure where we just decapitate Maduro and replace him with someone just as bad and then get a bunch of oil, well, that would at best be probably neutral for the Venezuelan people. It would be an enormous waste of U.S. military resources.
It's so weird the way that we talk about this stuff as if like it's just like, imagine if anybody else did something like this to us. Like right now, I'm pretty sure I would be celebrating in the street if Trump was kidnapped by China or something, you know, to be taken back to China to stand, you know, to trial within their system for doing what they consider crimes or whatever. I would be happy about that. But at the same time, why the hell do they get the right to do that? You know, what, just because they're bigger? You got more people? You can just show up and just start kidnapping leaders and stuff because we have natural resources, and then they take all of our resources and then of course just bolt. This is what they do. This is what capitalists do. They just show up, suck the place dry, and then bolt, and then they leave the place a complete disaster, and then reject all the immigrants when they try to, you know, go to the place that stole all their resources, and you know, and then they criminalize them and throw them in torture prisons and shit like that.
And I would be very critical of the Trump administration. The truth is, I don't know which path we're going down, right? It's very early.
Right.
We're getting different signals from Trump depending on the day, different signals from Rubio, and anyone who's confidently prognosticating that they know which path we're going down probably doesn't know what they're talking about. As for Greenland, I think, you know, the truth is Trump is extraordinarily reckless in his rhetoric here. We have a situation where we have an ally in Denmark, a NATO ally. We have deep relationships with Greenland already. We have a military base, we have mineral connections. And so the idea of taking Greenland by force against the will of the people who live there is absolutely ridiculous. Now, that said, if we were to purchase it, I think that'd be a good thing. It'd have to happen with their consent. They would have to want it.
Right.
But they don't. And they've made that very clear. They do not want to be in the United States. They'd all lose their health care. They're like, well, hold on, wait, our job has to provide our health care? Well, that's some bullshit. No, that's it. Or maybe we can get their version of healthcare. That would never happen. I don't even know what I'm saying.
I would welcome them as an American, but we absolutely cannot take it by force.
Right. See, that to me, Dave Smith, is part of the interesting.
Did I answer that? I don't know if Pierce Morgan is living in the U.S. Yeah, I thought he was, though.
Part of all this is that it's how this plays out. It's what actually Trump really wants to do. If he does an economic, I mean, take, for example, what China has been doing in Africa for the last 20 years. It's been going around Africa pretty quietly, actually, unless you're actually in Africa. And it's been doing endless commercial deals with African countries where they go in, they spend a lot of money on infrastructure and hospitals and bridges and roads and all these things. And in return, they get access to huge amounts of minerals. And that's been going on for
It's weird. It's like, what? You expect Americans to put themselves in other people's shoes? I don't. We can't even put ourselves in ourselves' shoes. You know, that lives like 6 blocks away, as long as they look slightly different.
20 years. And that's a kind of economic imperialism. I see no ideological difference between that and what Trump is potentially talking about with Greenland, which is clearly incredibly important strategically, from a security point of view, from a mineral point of view, and so on. And there are only 60,000 people who live there. And it may well be that they're happy to do a deal if the price is right, in which case, what's the difference?
Yeah. Well, I'll say I pretty much agree with Coleman, I guess, on that. Like, if it's voluntary, then okay. I don't really know enough about Greenland to really speak on it intelligently, but I could not disagree more
But
with
they
the take.
made it pretty clear. And see, this is what everybody's going to do. They're going to keep on. This is why this shit pisses me off. The normalizing of this regime and their choices is just infuriating, because this is what they're going to do. They're going to go, oh man, well, okay, maybe it would be good strategically, but if we, but only it's good strategically if they consent to it themselves, right? And they're like, hell no. And then Trump goes, I'm breaking it. He bombs everything, takes all their shit, and then he's like, all right, next is it. And then he just starts going to like another country, and then they'll be doing this same bullshit about the next thing that they're hoping he'll do, the quote unquote halfway correct way to do the invading other countries for their precious metals and shit
on Venezuela. And I think it's crazy, Pierce. I also think it just, after the last 25 years, and I'm not saying they're exactly the same, but the idea that we're just talking about regime changes in Iran and Venezuela and saying it would undoubtedly be a good thing if this regime were to fall. Well, maybe, but there's a really important question of what comes next. And if you want to say that, like, we've had a long history of regime changes in Latin America that have been disastrous too. We overthrew a communist government in the 50s in Guatemala, led to a civil war where hundreds of thousands of people died. So the idea that it's a guarantee that it would be a good thing if either one of these regimes fell, we certainly don't know that. And one of the other things we know is that you really don't get much of a say in what replaces the regime that falls unless you're willing to militarily occupy the country. And we've had regime change. We might be able to affect a full regime change without a military occupation, as we did in Libya, as we did in Syria, but those are not great examples where the country worked out. I mean, Syria is hanging on by a hair, and Libya is an absolute catastrophe. And so it's just like, it's very reckless when you start playing. You start dropping bombs on human beings, you start toppling governments, you start.
So they're not tough though. Wait, oh, they're not though. Pierce, they're very much not interested in being purchased. Ask Norway how happy they were to be bought by Sweden from Denmark in exchange for Finland, and not very pleased.
Kidnapping or
I didn't even know that. That's interesting. It's so weird that people just out buying countries and stuff, like, we will trade you this place for that place.
We're taking, leaders of countries. There's unintended consequences that come with all of these things. That's probably the one lesson in all of this military history, is that nobody is smart enough to predict exactly what's going to come next.
Did they do that thing where they're like pretending to walk out of the room, like, nope, can't do it, and then they slowly walk out looking over their shoulder until they were like, all right, I guess we'll get, like in that Pawn Stars show.
And so I just think it's, I see this with the situation in Iran. I say Michael Knowles are there. It's like, guys, it's like you hoist up the mission accomplished banner 2 days after the strike. We have absolutely no idea what's going to come of this. Obviously, in the situation in Iran, just right in front of all of our eyes, Pierce, the goalposts have moved from 60% enriched uranium, which is what me and Coleman were arguing about a few months ago. That's out the window now, right? Nobody even cares about or is pretending there's a nuclear threat. Donald Trump's bragging about how it's obliterated. Then both Benjamin Netanyahu and Donald Trump moved the goalpost to intercontinental ballistic missiles, and then that was the war propaganda for a couple months there. Now it's over whether they shoot protesters or rioters. Not even like an accusation that they're committing a genocide or
Meanwhile, guess who is shooting protesters? Yeah, us, the people that are going, you better not, or we'll bomb you. Jesus.
Threat to another country. They invaded their neighbor, nothing like that. So I would just say, I think one of the most important lessons, and Michael, who's a history buff, would know that every last one of the founders of this country talked about this all the time, is that you want to be sober and calm and rational. You want to not intervene when you don't need to. There's all types of unintended consequences that can come from these things. And that's why the advice of the founders was, be friends with the world. Don't get into entangling alliances. Don't search for monsters to destroy, to fight unnecessary wars. These are all wars of choice.
Every new year, I think about what a real fresh start looks like. And for me,
It seems like we do. I don't know how this stuff works, but it appears that we do purchase countries and just sort of invade. Really what it seemed like to me. They just blew up when they were doing that Venezuelan thing. They just blew up the grave of Hugo Chavez. Just as an added fuck you, just to be dicks about it, But they're like, no, it's just we're trying to help them out as we blow up their Abe Lincoln grave or whatever, their version of that or whatever, just to be dicks.
it always begins at home. Cozy Earth is my go-to for a winter blues-busting reset. They've just launched their new Baja bedding set, and you really need to check this out. It's their first fully matching collection. Sheets, duvet cover, quilt.
Jesus, I know nothing about this stuff. I'm going to be honest. Let's see. So that was in 1814, the Mutual Union, as it was called in Sweden again, not so much in Norway, were dissolved in 1905 on May 17th. Huh. I did not know that. So May 17th is Norway's National Day. And truth be told, I feel weird even talking about this when Drew is in chat. Drew, what do you think? Y'all want to start arguing about this? Like, you want to trade back, or what do you want to do? We can fix this right here. Okay, we can just settle this like people. I don't say like men. That's misogynist. So I say like people.
Coverlet, all inspired by the soothing tones of Baja California. The designs are classy, the fabrics are premium, and they'll give your bedroom an elevated resort-like look. And the Cozy Earth product that I use every day, the Luxe Bath
Oh
Towel.
my God, it's still not gonna, I wasn't even paying attention. I forgot that I was doing a thing. How long is that? I thought it was just gonna be the one part of the conversation. I'm sorry. I know we're usually we cover more Fundie type stuff around here. Then I usually have a little bit more to add about that because I don't know. I'm just like, yeah, the regime change. We should just stay the hell out of everybody else's business. That's what I think. I don't know why the hell we're doing this. It never, as far as I can tell, doesn't ever work out. When we get involved, the U.S. Now I don't know what's going on with Drew and Deviant over there. They're doing they did like a trade seize sort of thing back in the day, but every time the U.S. does it, all they do is take the resources and leave. That seems to be all I've seen.
The founders and the American relate.
I love arguing. Let me at him. And you spelled Adam correctly, so that was good. Yeah, that's how you do. That's good. Fucking Pierce. Yeah. All right, we'll go for a little more.
To foreign affairs. What was our first big international war? Was it the Iraq War? Was it the Gulf War?
Yeah, you're talking about the Barbary pirates or whatever. I don't know.
You're right. I'm talking about 1801. Dave, and it was actually our founding fathers who waged that war.
Okay, but Dave,
it goes back
to
to
Jefferson waged the war. Whatever.
So what? Why is this like? Who cares?
We don't have real time to get into that. Sure. We got 5 wars.
We have plenty of time, Dave, but you don't want to get into it because it undercuts your argument.
No, I'm happy, Michael. If you want to come on my podcast, I'll do 2.
You know what else they did back then? I think I could name a few things that were bad that we used to do and acted like it was normal. So would that undercut your argument, sir?
Hours on the Barbary Wars with you. The point is that we're trying to talk about the 5 conflicts going on right now. Sure.
Okay, let me address the Venezuela point.
Sure, let me see. Coleman might have something smart to say.
Yeah, so you're totally right. There is always a risk to regime change, and I don't mean to downplay that, but you have to factor in there is a risk to letting rogue regimes that, for instance, in the case of Venezuela, invite Hezbollah into the country, buy weapons from all of.
I can tell you studied it once. You're good. That's why I was saying you're correct.
Our adversaries, Iran, China, Russia, etc. A regime that is literally run this.
I actually got to get you back on here. We got to cover. I got some really good Christian nationalist ones I want to cover with you. But yeah, we'll work that out.
country, which used to be one of the wealthier countries in Latin America, into the ground to the point that people are literally eating wildlife. They're breaking into zoos, eating cats and dogs because this regime has totally destroyed the country. There is a risk to
that sounds post-apocalyptic. Holy Lord, that feels like that'd be something in, like, you know, those new like horror comedy type movies that are becoming more and more popular, where they, you know, it's a zombie apocalypse and they like run out of food because all the zombies have tainted everything. And they're like, wait a second, there's some food, there's some animals in the zoo. And then it just shows them all sitting around eating zebra. This was a really smart idea. That was good. How did you even think of that? That was good.
allowing a country like that to just continue doing whatever it's going to do. And so the idea that inaction has no risks is one thing I want to flag as a false argument. And the second thing I want to say is you're quick to reach for analogies to the Middle East. And I understand that. I mean, the American public has been.
It's so funny. Like, this is exactly, you know, this is exactly the type of stuff I have not like looked into very much yet. Like, I feel like I'm still like looking into a lot of different things, but the world stuff, you know, the foreign policy and all that shit. I just watched a thing on Vietnam on, what was it, on Netflix, right? I think it's on Netflix. But then I was like, whoa, I know all this stuff, but no, yeah, there's just so much, there's so much insanity that's been going on for so long. The Norway could buy us. They found oil in the 70s and we're still miffed about it. Don't say anything. Seriously, don't remind anybody about that. Norway will be next. They will just be, and now we got above Norway. Okay. They still got our oil that they never gave it back. They never gave it back, and it's ours. We deserve it. We deserve everything.
And really has lost so much faith in the American political class because of our interventions in the Middle East.
Eating the cat.
And the lesson I think you've drawn and other people have drawn is that therefore regime change is always wrong. I don't think that that's the right lesson. I mean, to me, that's analogous to taking the lesson from World War II that regime change is always right because it worked in Japan and Germany. The truth is, it's different depending on the situation on the ground. In most of the middle, you're talking about Iraq, Syria, Yemen.
Come on, Pierce. What are you doing, man? That was loud.
Talking about deeply sectarian countries with deep divisions, countries that are essentially civil wars waiting to happen if the lid comes off. Venezuela.
But what I don't understand, and maybe I'm an idiot and don't understand things, but like, if there's international law, right, that's like, these are sovereign nations. I thought if it was like a sovereign nation, you can't just show up and be like, yeah, but we just felt like we wanted some different leadership in a country that has nothing to do with us, but they also have a bunch of resources we could use. In the international law, it's like, yeah, but they're their own thing. They're kind of doing their own thing. And they're like, yeah, but it's a dictator. And it's like, yeah, but you could arguably be that as well. So like, how the hell do they square this shit? I don't understand. And is it like, once they do it, they're just like, well, okay, come over here, make your syllogistic logical argument, and we'll see how it pans out. You know, send your best lawyers. Like, how the hell does this shit work?
It's not a country like that. Again, the risk is not zero, but it's not a sectarian country. It was a functioning country for a very long time. And so the risk of civil war type outcomes like Syria and Iraq is just much lower than it is in the Middle East.
So what about...
Can I respond to that? Can I please respond to that? Hang on. Yes, please.
Hang on. I want to just center it actually just on this point. Let's bring it right up to date with Iran, Coleman, if I may.
So that's if you care about international law. I guess it's a subjective evaluation then. And if you don't, then it don't matter, because, you know, as long as you got bigger bombs, you make the rules. You know, it's like that 3,000 miles to Graceland. They say the golden rule. He who has the gold makes the fucking rules.
You know, depending on who you listen to, there's a revolution going on driven by the people.
And then later he said, he who has the golden plated gun makes the rules. So it's great. You know, it's good. It's way too long, but it's really good.
To depose an incredibly unpopular regime that's been there since 1979. Are we seeing the potential for civil war there? Are we seeing a revolution that should
Oh
happen?
my God, this is so boring. I'm sorry. I thought this was thought we were going to be talking more about like Gestapo and all that stuff, here. We're getting to like an international lesson, and I'm bored to tears.
You care. I think if Putin could take the whole of Ukraine tomorrow, he'd take it.
Oh my God,
I think
this
that's
is about this shit.
Pierce,
a number of things.
This was
Trump's a gangster.
sold to us.
Trump's a gangster.
That part was accurate. I agree with that.
Isn't it funny that we have this whole conversation, and while you're saying it could be about all these things, you know what no one's bringing up? Drugs. And that's what it was sold to us as.
Right.
Just like all these other wars, they just lie through their teeth. Has nothing to do with the drug problem.
Because again, like that, and that's the thing, and I guess that relates to stuff I actually understand. That's the thing, because he knows he knows that in his pocket are people that don't care about reality. They care about protecting their identity that is inextricably tied to their to their political party and everything like that, and it's even like in tandem with their religion, and it all kind of goes together. And so they have to just pretend that they believe all this bullshit. I don't even think they do. I think they know. They're like, it's just another excuse. But we gotta, all right, what's my talking points for the, like, I remember literally thinking that when I would hear, when I was a Christian and everything, I'd be going and talking to different people, hanging out, and I'd be like, I got to go back. And I would literally go to like people at my church and be like, what are the things that we were supposed to say about this? What's the party line? Literally the Republican Party line. What do we say? What are feed me my lines. And then I would just have my lines. And then they would be like, well, what about this? They'd be like, I will be right back in a couple of days. And then we'll have to finish this, because I got to get my lines from the people that I ask what I'm supposed to think about stuff. And that's literally the entire Republican Party, basically.
Fraction of it, and nothing to do with the fentanyl problem, which is the real crisis. It's a total pretext for war. And I gotta say, man, by the way, I kind of agree with Michael on the concept of international law. But
I guess first, this is why I was like not thrilled when he started doing all this stupid shit. Like, I can't talk about it. This is the most boring shit ever. Oh, okay. We're gonna get into the ICE stuff. All right, that's what I was hoping for.
Interests, because he thinks that America is the great savior.
That's not what I'm saying at all.
Thank you for the straw man. I'm actually making an argument in favor of law and order and intelligence in foreign policy.
Hang on a sec, Carl.
Thank you very much.
I think we've covered this well. I do want to move before we run out of time.
Yeah,
I want to move to Minnesota, and I want to start with you, Coleman, if I may. This has been enough. 45
minutes of that shit. Where we're just gonna like end off on, we forgot to talk about the federal thugs that are just running over
huge story
state lines, and somehow Republicans are cool with it.
In the last week, and it goes to domestic law. It's, I think, a complex story again that requires a nuanced view, and I'll lay mine out, Coleman, just for the record. I've watched this video a dozen times or more from every potential angle. And it is my belief that it is utterly ridiculous to categorize what this woman, Renee Good, was doing as domestic terrorism. I see somebody who got a little panicky as the ICE guys came towards her and decided...
Trying to open her goddamn door, dude. Like, of course you're going to do that. Like, that's insane to say that was terrorism. Like, they were terrorizing her, clearly.
To drive away... And that the ICE guy in front of her car, who coincidentally a few months earlier got dragged by a car for a sustained period of time.
He's an idiot. He's a complete idiot that doesn't know how to not jump in front of fucking cars.
And had injuries as a result, potentially affecting his judgment in a similar situation, I suspect.
I think his judgment was there was already something wrong with it. He jumped in front of a car, and they literally said like he was like in a space that he was not supposed to be, and he just like went the opposite direction that you would go when a car's coming at you.
Be a key part of this. He reacts in a equally panicky way and shoots her 3 times. And I don't see him as a cold-blooded murderer who did this deliberately as a way to murder somebody for the hell of it. I don't see her as a completely blameless part of this. I think she took decisions which led her down a path which I think were extremely unfortunate and, as it turned out, deadly for her. In other words, I think it's quite a complex.
Yeah, God, it's so annoying. Like when they do this whole like, oh, both sides eat crap, you know, and it's just like, oh, I swear to God, this is just so they can seem like they're more rational to either side because they, you know, they're like, oh no, but I'm like not fully over here and I'm not fully over there. So it's, you know, I'm rational, right? Like I'm more rational than all you two people that are all divided and stuff.
Story, which if you freeze frame it right down to every grab we've seen, anyone who thinks they have an absolute certainty about what happened here, I think is lying. And I think they're just, again, moving to the tribal place. This has to be this because my side believe this, or it has to be this.
So as long as there's an opposite side that is saying completely insane shit, then the person, like, somebody could do this with slavery, you know, as long as you could say slavery is wrong, owning humans as property is wrong. But if some right-wing nut job is like, well, the Bible actually says that it's okay because God, blah, blah, blah. And then you go, well, you know, I can't really take his position that's owning people as property is fully wrong because, I mean, this could just be a tribal thing, you know? You might not be thinking clearly because of your side, right? And there's other people that disagree with you from a different side. So you can't be fully right when you say something like that. Like, it's insane.
My side believe that. Am I wrong?
I couldn't agree more, Piers. I want to separate two issues really quickly. I'll get to the tragic death of Renee Good, but first I want to separate the issue of how ICE officers are behaving in Minnesota in general, right? Right now, social media is being flooded with videos of ICE officers needlessly escalating situations, questioning U.S. citizens who legally do not have to answer any questions. Some ICE officers seem to be under the impression that you're not allowed to film them. You are allowed to film them. And even, the worst part of this is that the Trump administration, the Department of Homeland Security, seems to have indicated to ICE officers that filming them is the same as doxing them, which it's not, right? So there's obviously, I think there's probably tons of ICE officers not getting videoed that are doing their jobs responsibly, and it's a tough job and it's a dangerous job, and I respect that. But there's a lot of ICE officers that are just running roughshod over.
Yeah, thank you. Let's see, Deviant said, for fuck's sake, if the guy's unstable due to PTSD, he should be on leave, not on the streets. And how the fuck can you say he acted irrational and shoot her 3 times in the head with a straight face? You mean he acted rational? Is that what you meant? And then shot her 3 times in the face. Yeah, as he's like stepping to get in front of her too. Like it was like, I'm too lazy to take down a fucking license plate number, you know? So I'm just gonna shoot her. That was the because they're just lazy. That's what this is. They like refuse to do police work. They don't want to do anything. They're just lazy idiots that have zero training, and they're just throwing guns in their hands and be like, go be mean to people. And that's the point. Remember that. Trying to get rid of sanctuary cities. Now go make them regret ever sanctuarying their cities. Go. Deviant said, here Pierce saying actually make it hearing Pierce say actually make it click. He's being paid. Yep. He's a bot asset. Well, and he really wants so badly to be considered the middle of the road man. You know what I mean? That is like, oh, I'm not on either side. That's why I bring people from either side on here to debate. And then I can just agree with everybody. And then that makes it so everybody keeps watching my show. And it's like, it's, and the people that want these broad platforms or whatever, where they don't ever want to actually land on a true perspective, it's all over the place. And it's always, they're always like right coded, but it's people like Joe Rogan that end up being like full-blown right-wing because they're like, I'm just being objective, and then they bring a bunch of right-wingers on that are like, but dude, vaccines, bro, vaccine. And they're like, maybe you're right. It's just, because they keep talking to the same idiots. And they're trying to be middle of the road.
All of their responsibilities as officers, and they're being fanned on by the administration. I think that's really important to say up front, that that's a real phenomenon and needs to be talked about.
I mean, the second that they were saying that they had basically said that lady was a domestic terrorist before they even evaluated the case. Like they just, oh, somebody got shot. A domestic terrorist, you know, and they're like, we'll figure it out later. We'll just, but that's, you know, we just decide that before we know anything because we're just going to lie anyway. And it's like, that's insane.
Now, let's separate that from the issue of Renee Good, who was tragically killed by Jonathan Ross. Now, here, Piers, you're right to point out there are so many critiques of how this officer and his partner handled the situation. Why, you know, officers are trained not to be in front of a car to begin with, right? That's one on a laundry list of ways in which this was terrible policing. However, a lot of prominent Democrats are saying that this is murder. Murder, that is a legal term with a legal standard. Now, if this goes to trial, you know, it's likely to get removed to a federal court, which is going to be favorable for the officer. And what the jury is probably going to be instructed is if this officer had reason to believe he could have suffered bodily harm, he or his partner could have suffered serious bodily harm, then by statute, he's authorized to use deadly force. The jury is going to be instructed if he felt he was in serious danger. Now, we get the benefit.
Absolutely, it's murder. I mean, here's what's crazy about this. Here's what's something I never understand is that the police or whatever, in this case, it's, you know, the federal thugs that have zero training and, you know, are just basically unaccountable at all. But those folks out there are the ones that are supposed to be enforcing the law on everybody else, right? Shouldn't they be held to a way higher standard than like your average citizen that can get spooked and like try to, you know, be like, I'm just going to drive away? Shouldn't they be held to like a way higher standard? And if not, if they're the ones always given the goddamn pass, what's to stop them from doing this type of shit on purpose? You know, and just being like, well, I just don't like people. And we don't have to follow rules because, you know, we enforce them. So that makes sense somehow.
Of seeing 5 different angles on the video in slow motion over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So we can come to the conclusion that, yeah, he was out of he was out of line of the car after those.
All right, weirdo, take it easy. It's good to see it.
During those second and third shots. But he didn't have that advantage. He experienced that in real time, in the blur of real life. The whole interaction was less than 2 seconds, and he had 1 shot at it. Not only that, his partner had his hand through the window, which, as you said, is precisely the situation that had put him in the hospital 6 months prior.
Yeah.
It's going to be tough to convince a jury that he didn't have reason to believe he was in risk or his partner of serious bodily harm.
I think from a legal perspective, I think you're probably right. And I think a jury may well end up making that determination based on the application of the law. But Kyle, you know, I talked about both sides taking sort of implacable, incendiary positions. You compared ICE agents to Nazis, described the officer as an ICE thug who murdered a woman on camera by shooting her in the face. I mean, you're determining there that what we have watched with our own eyes, because we got the benefit of seeing all the videos, is somebody making a deliberate calculation to murder that woman for no reason.
Yeah, I think so. But let's see what he said. Because, I mean, like I said, they're there. These are the white supremacists, Proud Boy, 3%ers, you know, all those like crazy people. That this is what they're doing now. They're getting hired to go terrorize brown people, and they're happy to just unload, you know, lead into random brown people.
I think he did. And
Why
I think
would
if
you
you
do
study
that?
the video closely, well, I'll explain it to you. So first of all, these guys are all roided up freaks. Let's point that out, that these are like Proud Boys and white nationalists and you know, the dregs of society who have now been given a gun and a badge.
Well, that's a ridiculous generalization. And again, I don't think that helps.
Let me finish
but that
talking,
kind of
and then you can talk.
generalization
You wanna
doesn't help
disrupt
your
the point?
argument. It makes you sound equally deranged.
No. I don't care about convincing you
more
guys with your cult of fake nuance. I care about speaking to the American people who saw with
God
their eyes
forbid we
what's
should have
happening.
nuance.
Yeah, because it's fake nuance. That's the problem. You have J.D. Vance out there saying that this guy, it should have absolute immunity. Absolute immunity. So
I
if
don't
you
agree.
rape somebody, he should be able to get off. This is fucking
mean, she hit
ridiculous.
him with her
Absolute
car.
immunity.
I don't
we went
agree.
from nobody's above the law in this country.
Nor do I think, Kyle, nor do I think that Rene Good was deliberately trying to run over this ICE officer. I just don't think.
So it is just an unfortunate accident. They're too polite. That's it. It's the Britishness of this guy. That's it. Like way too polite. He's like, well, maybe it's nobody's fault. maybe that. Maybe it was just an accident.
Okay, and the guy was trying to kill her.
That she was trying to do that, or to cause him
Correct,
bodily
she
harm.
wasn't.
I think it was quite clear from the wheel positioning that she was trying to drive away. And the guy
Piers,
was
you're
ignoring
right.
his training
That's right. And
to
here's the
stand
thing,
in front
Piers,
of her.
if you
And he
watch
had
closely-
a past incident, which probably in the moment made him fear the same thing was going to happen.
Piers, I
and he
just hold
shot
on.
her.
We have to have one
If you
factual
watch
correction
closely,
here.
All right, Michael,
Just
excuse
one
me,
little bit
excuse
to
me.
inject some
I
facts.
literally
One
literally
second,
never
Kyle.
even made
We
the
just need
fucking
one little
point I was
correction.
trying to
All
make
right,
at the
don't talk at the
beginning.
same time.
And you
The
guys are
wheels
talking
were
over
aimed
me.
at the cop when
Let
she
me-
accelerated.
No, it
Kyle,
wasn't.
Kyle,
No, it wasn't. You lying piece of shit. We got the other video. We could see the wheels turning away from him. You lying piece of shit. God, they just lie.
Come back to you. Kyle, I will come back to you. Let Michael just interject on this one point. Michael.
This is really important because I feel sorry for the woman. It's very sad that she died. I'm not in any way happy that she died. She was in that position, one, because her lesbian partner said, drive, baby, drive, drive. The lesbian partner then said, it's my fault.
Why is it relevant that she's a lesbian?
She was exactly that part. But like, yeah, she's scared for her partner. They're trying to get in the door. She doesn't know they're not going to fucking take her to a prison, a torture prison, and just disappear her. She didn't know that they weren't going to do that. Psychotic, dude. It's like they're not even, when you put all this stuff together, that is all like everything that is happening all at the same time, it's terrifying. The fact that they're just beating up children and just leaving them bloodied on the streets. The guy literally dresses like a Nazi on purpose, dude. Like, how the hell can you not see that? And you're gonna just, well, we're gonna give them the benefit of the doubt. It's just that no, they're not bloodthirsty. Go fuck yourself.
Hold on one second.
Why is that relevant? Because she's the partner. No, you interrupted me. I'm interrupting. Why is it relevant that she's a lesbian?
One second, Kyle. I'm just trying to have a conversation.
I would say it's irrelevant that she's a lesbian. Secondly, drive can be an entreaty to drive away, which is what I think she was doing. Thirdly, the demeanor of Rene Good in the final video that came out shows somebody pretty calm, certainly not confrontational, certainly doesn't look to me like somebody intent on mowing down an ICE officer. I think she just wanted to get out of there.
Are you suggesting, Piers, hold on, are you suggesting that because a woman says, I'm not mad, that means she isn't mad? I think anyone who's ever interacted with a woman knows that's not what that phrase means. Second of all, we don't have to just judge by her words. She accelerated. You can look at it in the footage while the tires are aimed at the cop. And
no, they weren't. You're just a liar, dude. You can see in that video that the tires literally turn away from the guy. She was trying to go around him. The guy had to jump to get in the way. It's to make the shot in the first place. This is insane.
This is a message. I feel bad for her. She was indoctrinated into thinking that you're allowed to drive your car at cops or disobey
Go fuck yourself.
Police orders or block traffic and create a dangerous situation. This is an important message to all the leftists out there who want to do this. You cannot drive your SUV into a police officer. If you do that, you will be shot in the face.
She was like clearly trying to just turn. He had to jump to get there, dude. Let me see it one more
This is
time.
an important message to all the leftists out there who want to do this. You cannot drive your SUV into a police officer.
Boop. He pulls the gun out before she's even turned. He comes this way and he has to jump to get over to it to be able to shoot. And it's just like, are you insane?
If you do that, you will be shot in the face.
He will say, Andy, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. He could have just pulled her out the car and gotten a buddy of his to read or recite that prayer that the Boondock Saints say before they shoot out her eyeballs. And they still be like, well, hold on. How do you know that she doesn't have guns that'll pop out her back? Huh? You don't know that. They have back guns these days. They do. They pull, they pop out machine guns. Yep. They just, start spinning, killing everybody.
And deserve it. And it will be very, very sad.
All right, Kyle,
I love that we're now doing. I love that we're now doing character assassination of a 37-year-old soccer mom who got shot in the face 3 times. You're fucking disgusting for doing that, and you know that you're disgusting for doing that. And if you watch the video closely, he switches hands with his phone to prepare to grab his gun before he was in any danger whatsoever. Okay, so this guy, he knew what he was doing. He knew what he was getting himself into. These people are looking for trouble. They are going to Minneapolis. They are cracking skulls. They are rounding up innocent.
It's like, it feels like Kyle Rittenhouse all over again. You know what I mean? Where it's just like, this is so stupid. The only way you could think the stuff you're thinking is if you're not. Is if you're just, I'm just going to defend the people as long as they're on my side. You know, no matter what. And it's like, and then they go, well, that's what you're doing, you know, because it's just projection. And they were like, as long as we are this like deranged and biased, then we can just claim that you are too. And so it doesn't matter. Nothing matters. Reality doesn't matter. It's so infuriating. And that's the gaslighting that they do, you know? Anyway. All right, y'all. Can't believe that the last I should have started it there. I should have checked this thing prior to getting here and doing it. But I saw it at the last second. I was getting ready for the show, and then I saw the Vanguard were like covering it, and I was like, oh, maybe we come. And I was like, well, I don't want to cover them covering it, right? That's kind of weird. But then I was like, okay, let me go find it. So I literally started doing this the second that it was out. And so did not know we were going to spend that long on foreign policy before we got to the thing that I actually wanted to talk about, which was ICE. But anyway, thanks so much for hanging out, y'all. And if you want to support the show, you can do that in a bunch of different ways. First way is to finger that button, the like button, please, if you don't mind. And there's a bunch of different nomenclatures that you can do. There we go. That's allowed. There we got the right one. But there's other ways you can support the show as well. And they're all listed right here. But before we do anything else, let's thank our members.
Just want to thank my channel members. I got constant bill collectors and writing out return to sender. Only work so many times. Thanks 1,000 times.
Oh, thank you, Maya. I appreciate that. All right, y'all. Hey, please support the show, hit that like button, all that good stuff. And I think this might be the last time that I stream until like Monday, because I got a bunch of stuff to do this weekend. But all right, y'all. We will see you next time.
Are you about to engage in blasphemy?
We sure are. All right, y'all. Make sure to stay logical, stay loving, skeptical, and compassionate. And we will see you next time.